The Deep Dive podcast is powered by Atla.im and brings you real stories from the Isle of Man's business community. Hosted by the Atla Group, we explore the journeys of entrepreneurs, business leaders, experts, government representatives, and our own team.
Welcome to the Deep Dive podcast brought to you by Martin. That's me. And
Lyle.
That's him. Clara, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
We were just discussing off air. We sat down, yourself and I, unbelievably 3 years ago to chat when we first started working with your business to talk about what you were doing. So I thought it was a great opportunity 3 years on as well to take a snapshot, because I imagine there's a lot gone on in that time.
Oh yeah, it's good. Yeah, there is so much change. 3 years it seems like a lifetime, but yeah, couldn't be any more different.
So perhaps just to set the scene for listeners, for those that either haven't heard or don't know Recycle, talk a little bit background to what you're doing there and the spread you've got on the Isle of Man now.
So we set up Recycle Collect coming up to 4 years. So it's almost its fourth birthday coming up. And, we set it up because I was working at Conister Bank and we had an ESG committee. And the first meeting we'd gone to was about recycling. And we kind of seen the amazing setup that Douglas had. And my takeaway from this meeting was I want the rest of the island to have what Douglas had. So I dealt with some incredible people there. Big shout out to Jeanette and Nick, were the people I dealt with at Douglas. And here we are 4 years later. What felt like an absolute wild gamble has just been incredible. We're 4 years down the line, we're 6 employees, we're 4 vehicles now. We're collecting from over 2,000 households. We've got 4 government contracts. It's bigger than ever, but it's also happier and just incredible. I could never have imagined it getting to here.
Talking about just a little bit on that recycle journey for the recyclable product.
Yeah.
So you're collecting obviously from households. Talk us through the process from there. Where does it?
So same
package it up? How does that all work?
Yeah, exactly the same as Douglas. So we collect from curbside or office side or whatever. We collect from so many different places. And then we sort and separate that in our vehicle. And then we take that to drop-off locations. So what people probably don't know is that a majority of the recycling collected on the Isle of Man is actually recycled on the Isle of Man. And that's glass. So there's over 100 kilograms of glass collected per household per year. From the Isle of Man, all Isle of Man households, that stays here, just goes up to St John's up the road. Everything else is sorted, squashed, packaged and sent off on a big curtain-side trailer to really super close locations in the UK to be sold on what I want to call like the recyclables market. And that gets combined for efficiency with the other curbside initiatives on the Isle of Man.
Yeah, right, okay. So we're right and said you've got no premises. Your premises are your moving vehicles.
I guess like the premises is the moving vehicles, yeah. So, they're the offices. Everyone comes to work and works from their office, which is a van.
Yeah, it's quite unique. I mean, I think what I've seen certainly through social media is that you've created quite a cool company culture. We're big on culture here. Maybe you can tell us a bit more how you managed that and how you created the culture. Is it deliberate? Is it, it just seems to be a cool place to work.
Yeah. And when I started Recycle, I think I wanted to almost reimagine the workplace. And the best way I could describe it is think of somewhere that you really want to work. And that is how I wanted the culture to be at Recycle. How it's ended up is that I don't know how it's happened, but I've ended up with literally 6 of the most incredible humans on this planet. They're all funny, kind, respectable, amazing people, super talented, super energetic, and really passionate. And they've ended up with me. I don't know how that happened, but that in turn, I think, creates the culture. The culture is probably one of my proudest things about Recycle. It's an amazing place to work, but mostly just really proud of the people that I have with me.
What would they say about you?
They think I'm mad. They think I'm mad. But I think what they'd say about me is maybe I'm a little bit crazy, but we do have a lot of fun. I don't know what they'd say about me.
You don't think it'd be all the things you just described the culture?
Oh, I don't. That's too kind.
Well, I assume though, ultimately you're at the top, setting the tone, aren't you? So
yeah, I don't know why it is that I've ended up with these people. I honestly couldn't tell you, but like, they're just the most amazing people I've ever met, and they're some of my like closest friends as well. So yeah, maybe you get what you put out there to the, I don't know. But either way, I am like head over heels, super in love with the culture that I wouldn't say I've created, as that they've created. You know, they create for themselves every day.
You mentioned curbside and businesses there. So was businesses a newer area that you'd moved in? Talk a bit about that.
Yeah, so when we first set up, we were just targeting the domestic market. I can sure, you know, most people or small businesses, small startups have had to diversify to survive. And Recycle is social enterprise. So it's not out here to make a load of money. It is out here to do a good job and provide a great workplace. But in order to survive, we have had to branch into other areas, one of them being commercial. So we do collect from, you know, all different types of commercials across the island, one of them being Atla. Obviously, we've got up in Ramsey office as well. And that's just enabled us to, you know, flex our skills a little bit, but also keep out on the road, you know, to keep this business going. We've got still an incredible domestic market, which, you know, super shout out to the amazing people who have signed up to us. But having commercials has been a real great backbone for us. And yeah, really glad we touched that area.
How hard is it to sell to individuals to ultimately commit, you know, living, etc.? I'm sure you hear a lot of that. How hard have you found that?
Yeah, really hard. Like, there's no lies about it. Selling this business privately is tough. And I think when we first imagined it, it would go out private, it would create an established route, and then we would be able to reach out to local authorities to say, look, we have this established route, we know what we're doing, would you get on board? That has been successful in areas such as Braddon, Bride, they're fully subsidised. Arbury, Rushen and Santon are part subsidised, which makes things a lot more cost efficient because you're round, or, you know, you've got more houses in the same amount of time. They're all closer together rather than doing, you know, spread out parts. Selling it to people is really tough, which is why I am super grateful, because a majority of our customers have been incredibly loyal and have been with us since the start. We still get new sign-ups every day, but I think the message is, yes, I 100% know that times are tough for people, and I just want to thank people for prioritising using Recycle Collect and keeping a small local business alive.
Yeah.
I imagine it's these are kind of, you're trying to shift mindsets and habits of people, and so you're spending time in the schools, you know, trying to educate from bottom up.
Yeah, I think, as you'd mentioned, like seeing our social media page, that's a really prevalent area at the moment, and getting that out to a certain market so that people can access kind of the coolness of recycling. So it's not like, oh, just all green, all different areas. So not only are we on social media, we are in primary schools, visiting, doing talks, right up to, and I'd say my biggest impact comes from visiting corporates to do talks and presentations, because it's, you know, helping kind of knock the rumours on the head, things like that, and just having someone to talk them through the general process of recycling on the Isle of Man. And that's probably been our biggest impact, because kids know so much already. You know, it's in their syllabus, and they are so switched on.
So we have a quiz.
Oh, I love a quiz.
It's pretty easy, because it's either you go answer yes or no, so it's not too difficult. Because we're in the Isle of Man, it's either answer yes sir.
Okay, yeah.
Or neighbour.
Neighbour.
For no.
Okay.
Obviously the accent as well.
Yeah.
So it's just 4 very quick, only one yes or no answer to these. So do you think that single-use plastic should be completely banned? Yes sir or neighbour?
Yeah, boy.
Should businesses, individuals be legally required to meet specific recycling targets?
Yes, sir.
Do you think the government should provide more subsidies for recycling initiatives?
Yes, sir.
Is the current level of public awareness about recycling sufficient?
Nay, boy.
And on that note, then, how do we improve that?
Yeah, my thing with single-use plastic is, I think, yeah, I want to caveat that, is that I think for healthcare, sometimes things are quite important. Okay. Your likes of latex gloves, things like that. The wider scheme of it, do I think we're wasteful? Yes. Do we need all this cellophane and stuff like that? No. Do I think there are medical requirements and certain health and safety hazards that would require that? Absolutely. How do we get the Isle of Man to be subsidising, encouraging recycling? I think as a whole, it needs to be like an all-encompassing approach where everyone does the same thing. People are afraid to take that step because it means adding money onto their rates. The long-term benefits for the Isle of Man are huge. So if we think at the moment there's maybe 53% of the Isle of Man is recycling according to latest data. So 47% of us aren't. If every household has 100 to 110 kilograms of non-burnable waste that they're either recycling or not recycling, the impact of that is the ones that aren't recycling, that's going through your energy from waste plant. That causes blockages, grid issues. They got to sieve that out at the bottom because those things aren't burning. The roundabout issue with that is, who do you think's paying for these inefficiencies and the extra processes they have to go through to remove non-burnables? Like, we're paying for it. The taxpayers are paying for it. So we're costing ourselves money by not paying the money up front. So, I think eventually I do believe that legislation will come into place to say that non-burnable items can go through something that should be designed just for burnable things. How long that's going to take, everyone's got to take the step in the right direction. I think a lot of people will think, it's all about green and being green. No, it's not about that. If you want to consider it for being green, that's great. I obviously have my own set of morals and beliefs about this. If you want to strip that right back to just economics, what you're doing at the moment is costing you as an island money, and what you're doing with putting your heaviest waste item in the bin is costing yourself money in the rates, because that you've got to pay that at a gate fee. So it all comes around and roundabouts. How you make people make that long-term decision is tough, but we are trying, and I think that eventually it will get there.
Yes, I suppose it leads into some of those rumors or misconceptions. And I know that when you came to talk to Atla, we were trying to work it out, it was last year or the year before, but it was really interesting to hear some of those facts. Maybe you could take us through some of those. I'm sure you're well versed.
Oh, yeah. The best one is, they just all burn it anyways. And, I heard that when I started. And, it's something that I didn't really know, but I definitely believed in. So I did the research on that, and actually it couldn't be any further from the truth. So to sell it short, non-burnables, you don't want to send through the energy from waste anyways. Super heavy, super costly. Every ton that goes through there costs each person £118 now. So on average, every household is creating a ton of waste a year. So that's costing you £118, especially if some of that can't be burnt anyways. The implications of you then paying for the inefficiencies and the removal process. Then everything else that I would say is burnable, you can actually sell for a really great return. So if you put it to the likes of me, I'm just burning it all anyways, I don't know where people think I'm honestly getting that money from, because I'm collecting like 240 tons of recycling a year. I cannot afford to burn that. That is incredibly expensive. When actually, cans and aluminium, which are non-burnable, they get £900 plus per ton when you sell them. Cardboard, especially in the height of COVID, like £250 plus per ton. Plastics can, if you gave a ton of pure plastic bottles, you could get like £800 per ton. And that's because there's so many commitments now to using X amount of recyclable product in your latest products. And the biggest rumor as of late is that don't recycle your paper because they just burn it all anyways. The truth is that the DOI have removed their paper bring banks all around the island. And that was purely because the inefficiencies of it and the cost associated with that. So if you see it from their perspective, they were sending a big wagon round the whole of the Isle of Man for very little paper. Back in the day, it was like 10, 20 times more than what it is now, because we've all moved into like a technology era. There is little paper, which is why doing curbside makes it much more efficient. They're there anyways, collecting all your other recyclable waste. they're already on the route. They're not using big wagons, and they're packaging and sending all within one central kind of location. And when we combine with your likes of Douglas's curbside, the efficiencies start to generate from there. So we're going to see less and less paper as it goes along. But if you consider contamination, a big van to go round, the price that you're getting and the small volumes that you're getting now, I can understand the decision. But what I want to say is, yes, recycle it. We do still recycle it. No, we don't burn it.
Yeah. How have you found, I assume you interact obviously with local authorities, but at government level, are the ears open there? How do they interact with you?
Yeah, I mean, they're absolutely fantastic in that everyone has the same idea as the waste hierarchy is what they implement in the waste strategy, where they want to reduce, reuse and recycle before incinerate. And that is out there and a published document. But I think what people don't understand is that every local authority is required to organise their own waste collection, so they are in control. And it's not at a central level, it is at a local authority level. So every local authority can make that decision as to whether or not they provide recycling.
For such a small island, does that make sense to have a non-centralised, I mean, it seems like creating jobs for jobs' sake, and surely in a small place, maybe we'll have to cut this out. But a centralized function would be more efficient than everyone doing their own thing.
Yeah, 100%. I think there is definitely some benefits for centralization. And I think that's where we came in to say, like, Douglas is obviously a massive area. So having a team to fully fledged do Douglas is a different kettle of fish to the likes of us doing all the rural areas. And collectively between the two of us, I would say the process is centralized. However, the decisions aren't centralized because every local authority has to make it. But what I have noticed from being in like having skin in the game is that every area on the Isle of Man is so different. And I don't know whether what makes it nice about being on the Isle of Man is that your local authorities are local to you. So it feels personal, that they know what you need, that you need a weekly or fortnightly waste collection, that they know you need this road fixed or you want this event on because they're close. It's like a close community. So I can understand the decision not to have one central. Yes, it would be more efficient, I'm sure, in some ways. And in other ways, I don't know whether it would be. It's a benefit and also maybe a slight disadvantage of the Isle of Man. But I think what you could do is centralise some areas, i.e. you centralise the collection and drop off to all one space so we can all, as you said, like benefit from the efficiencies of sending it all away.
Still keep a personal touch.
And keep a personal touch.
I know what I was thinking. You're thinking from South Africa. Yeah, 8,000 people. That's pretty local.
Yeah,
that's what you're thinking, aren't you?
Yeah. And you're not the only one to think that. And it's, it is quite right.
Welcome to our now. Biosphere.
Yes.
How do you interact with Biosphere?
So we are part of UNESCO Biosphere, the Isle of Man's UNESCO Biosphere. As well, they're working together for a sustainable future. That is exactly what we want to do as well. And I think a lot of people say, and this is probably a big gripe of mine, is that, the Isle of Man's so little, we can't make any impact. And that's all right, you saying that, we're less than 1% of the world's population. Yes, we are. But if everyone who was a small island who said that got together and all decided they weren't doing anything, that is a big impact. And I'm not saying anyone's out here trying to revolutionize, the whole world and solve the climate crisis all just with the Isle of Man. I'm saying that there are benefits for the Isle of Man and the message that we're putting across to our future generations of what we're doing here to make it a sustainable place to live. It becomes a little bit like, why would you go somewhere that's like really backwards and living by like old, really materialistic and wasteful ways? Like, you wouldn't want to go there, would you? And you certainly wouldn't want to live there as a young person. It's what 75% of the UK's population believe that like something needs to be done about climate change. So you're not encouraging people to live here if you live on like this unsustainable island. UNESCO Biosphere do a great job. We've worked together in some spaces and I, definitely support everything that they're trying to do to achieve that as well. It's hard to change some mindsets because I think what you'll read, for example, on your likes of social media is not indicative of the general population's thoughts, especially not from like my era. Like, you know, I'm pretty old as well. But there's not a person I know that doesn't believe something has to be done to protect the future generation. We're not saying solve the climate crisis. We're saying, like, let's preserve what we've got so that they've got something left, because, like, our hearts can't take that.
And the future of the business, what do you just obviously want to continue to grow it, more vans, more collection points? Is that the long-term hope?
So the original, definitely. I think, you know, the original plan was for the fleet to be electric. So, you know, we're quite idle for 7 hours a day. The girls are out. So the van could be sitting there idle, and we wanted to go electric. And it also made a lot of sense for a small island to, you know, have the benefits of using an electric vehicle. 4 years ago, the research that we'd done, it just wasn't sufficient. However, we have just the other day bought our first electric curbside vehicle, which will be the Isle of Man's first electric curbside recycling vehicle. All the research has been put in. It's been taken a hell of a long time, but that was...
The research been benefit analysis, so it's more efficient to run electric than a...
Yep, the life of it, obviously the weight of what we're carrying, the benefits, the cost benefits, and it's certainly, you know, been a long journey to get to where it is. But that's where I really wanted Recycle to get, was to get to a point where it was running from an electric fleet. I partly think now a hybrid solution is going to be the best for the Isle of Man, but it's a great start. And now what I want to do is just get the rest of the island recycling. You know, we're not that far off. If you think Douglas have got 15,000 houses covered, then we've got 2,000 houses covered. So there's only, another, say, 12 to 13 households left to cover. Like, we could do that easy.
No, okay.
It leads into how can people get involved. If you cover that, with a few more questions that we want to...
Yeah. So if people do want to get involved, local authorities, they can send me an email because I would love to meet them. But if you're a private customer, you can sign up online at www.recyclecollect.im, and you can register through the website. Commercials, they just need to get in touch at hello@recyclecollect.im. You can also reach out to us via likes of Facebook, Instagram. But yeah, we'd love to have more and more and more and more people on board.
I imagine for corporates as well, you're happy to go and do talks.
Oh yeah, I love that, if they're happy with it.
I love the www event in case people don't know all the words.
Just in case.
We service entrepreneurs as kind of our, you know, on Ireland, it's through our accountancy, audit and advisory businesses, and internationally through our retirement solutions and fiduciary businesses. And so your entrepreneurial journey, you and your partner, you guys are both entrepreneurial. Can you tell us a bit about some of the lessons you've learned along the way?
That just is so funny, because I would not have explained myself or defined myself as entrepreneurial at all, which is, and Martin's giving me a funny face there. I would say that, you know, I am where I am now because I took an almighty risk. It was of a kind of idea to help people for the benefit of the Isle of Man. I had a great opportunity to actually spend some time doing something to make a difference. I think my biggest advice would be prepared to pivot. You know, you can't make a small business survive. Like, it's so tough out there right now. You have to be prepared to be flexible, you know, to kind of move on your business plan a little bit. Something that we've had hard lessons for, and something that, you know, has definitely worked well for us. But another thing that me and the girls always say is that there's nothing that can't be fixed. You know, there's nothing that can't be solved. There's not a problem we can't overcome. Like, there's a solution to everything. So if you like, just have a really great, open kind of workplace culture, you can get through anything.
Love it.
Agreed. Yeah.
Lost my train of thought in the next question.
Yeah, I'll jump in if you want. So if you look back over that journey and talk about entrepreneur, what if anything would you have done differently, or is it almost And I see we all say there could be a million things, but also I wouldn't change it because I wouldn't be where I am now.
Yeah, I think a tough thing for me was I made the jump before my husband. So I definitely found the journey quite lonely at the beginning. It sounds strange kind of looking at someone who seems really outgoing, but yeah, the first 2 years were really tough for me. I found it incredibly stressful, and I definitely found it tough. But for me, it was that I knew that what I was doing had a purpose and there was no giving up. And we could have given up a million times. And as you said, I could have done a lot of things differently. I think you've also got to know when to give up. There are certain elements that we've had to drop to be able to progress, and don't harbor on things for too long. Be prepared to, drop it and move on. Mingle with other people who are going through a similar thing, different experiences. And I think my best thing is I've got some incredible friends who are kind of been through different career paths, different choices, who have made it, incredibly successful in different areas. Just listening to them, hearing them out. When Andy came home to work with me as well, so that we were both kind of on our own paths, was definitely like a big turning point for me. I felt like I had someone in my corner all the time, someone that was with me that like all hours of the day, which might seem a little creepy, but it's great. It's nice to have someone there all the time.
So if you could do it differently now, would you maybe have found some maybe mentors or coaches around that time?
Yeah.
Spoken more to friends maybe about the challenges that
I did have an amazing mentor actually allocate to me through the Department for Enterprise, and she was incredible. And I think it's not so much the social aspect, because I had a lot of friends to go and see and stuff like that. It was that the journey itself inside felt a bit lonely. And I think my advice would be to myself, what I would change is just knowing that doesn't last forever. Yeah, okay. As soon as you get more employees, like my manager and the girls that I work with, honestly, they are just like my left and right arm together. I can come with things that would worry me, don't worry them. We have different skill sets. And I think, I guess something I would have changed, maybe be a bit more open with your employees from the beginning. You don't have to be the protector all the time, because that's definitely what I like to be. Open up to them because they can help you as well. And that's definitely something I'm really, really grateful for, is that my gals have got my back.
Share the burden.
Yeah, definitely. And more.
Yeah, no, I understand totally. I've been down that road before, and it can be lonely because you're charging, you've got this belief that you're doing something that has got value. But also you've gone from working at Conister, did you say?
Yeah.
And so you're going in, you're speaking to people.
Super friendly, yeah.
And suddenly you go and you're on your own, and all day you're kind of doing your thing. So it can be lonely at times.
Yeah, it definitely pays off. Now I can sit back and I can see this amazing little vehicle that we've created for people to come and work at, giving people amazing career opportunities, seeing people excel. It definitely does pay off, but the first bit is a grind. It is a slug, but you just got to keep at it. Just laughing at entrepreneurial. That's so funny.
Clara, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for the catch up.
Yeah.
Really pleased it's going really well.
Thanks.
And obviously anybody listening wants to reach out, individual businesses, with communities, what I'm looking for. But yeah, the community people.
Local authorities.
Thank you.
You've got it, Martin.
Thank you. That's slick. So thank you. It's way out from Mark.
Yeah, and I think, at Atla, we're really proud to support what you're doing. And thanks for being such an inspiration and for making recycling and working in recycling cool.
Yeah, thank you.
People can learn a lot from you, and wish you all the best.
Yeah, thanks for the support as well, because Atla's been with us from the beginning, and without that, we probably still wouldn't be here. So yeah, super grateful for all the support Atla's given us.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Yeah.